I got a bit of a strange journey when it comes to being in pro wrestling. I've been in TV and theatre and acting and that side of the world, TV and movies and stuff, all of my 20s, and then I hit 30 and I decided very late on, at the final hour, I've always wanted to be a wrestler. It's always the thing that spoke to me. And other things got in the way, but in a good way. I lived and breathed what I did outside of wrestling, and I thought it was an itch that maybe would go away, and it never did. So yeah, I very late in the game bought a wrestling ring during COVID, and then I bought another wrestling ring during COVID, and then I didn't know any wrestling, so I found a couple of people. Some things happened, some schools closed, some didn't reopen. We ended up opening a place called PPW in Sheffield in England, which is the reason that we're here today, brought an alliance of PPW members. And I actually opened the school, I opened the facility to learn how to wrestle. So it was a pretty backwards way of getting into the business. But I got big goals and aspirations, and success is who you surround yourself with. And 2 hours a week wasn't going to cut it. I needed to be immersed in pro wrestling, so that's what I did. A lot of people learn to wrestle and then spend years developing a character, how to talk and hold themselves and presence, whereas I had all of that from my previous career, shall we say. So then it was just about learning how to dance, and it all kind of came together. Having PPW and being a pro wrestler, I tried to keep very different. I have a huge ego. I have a very big ego. However, I don't have it as a businessman, really. I have it as a wrestler and as a performer. So I never felt the need to scream and shout that PPW was mine, shall we say. Liam Slater, who's been over and wrestled Red and wrestled Guido, he runs PPW. We run it together. I'm the man in the background. For a long time, I actually tried to hide that I owned PPW, and that was kind of the fun of it. And people would ask where I trained, I'd tell them, and then they'd proceed to tell me what they'd heard about PPW, not knowing who I was. But as my wrestling figureship became apparent and PPW grew, eventually the circles couldn't help but overlap. And so at that point, it became a juggling act of having to be the comedian who is not a huge fan of the other wrestlers and's got his chip on his shoulder and is here to prove a point that I am better, and no one talks like me and no one looks like me and no one really has the whole package like me, and everybody kind of knows it, but then they have to be a businessman because there's customers and there's people that want to be a part, and we want to work with charities and work with TV and work with helping people. So the personal dad businessman side of me sometimes can combat with the performer and the ego side of me, and the worlds can collide sometimes. And it's great to be able to bring guys from PPW and show these Italians, that we are doing stuff on a different level. I'm very appreciative. I love the ragu and I love the people, but there has to be a time where it becomes business and the cameras come out and we're better than them, and we can shake hands afterwards, or we can fight afterwards, or have pizza afterwards, or whatever you want. But we're not here just to participate. We're here for a reason and a purpose. And people think it's a catchphrase, but we're on a pursuit, and that's why we are Pursuit Pro Wrestling. And there's nowhere else doing these collaborations around the world. And I mean the world. Italy's great, it's probably the biggest one, but we've been to Mexico, we've been to Spain, we've been to Malta, we've been asked to go to Japan. And Red was smart enough, I'll give him that, to understand and see. He calls us Coca-Cola, which I think is a huge compliment. And he's not often right, but he's right on this occasion. That's what we're trying to be. And of course they want a slice of the pie. And as long as they play nice and they put us up and they pay for the hotels and they fly us over and they feed us, we'll continue to come over and share a little piece of the PPW pie with Fabio and the rest of the boys. I don't think Red Scorpion's anywhere near as good as me. I'm bigger than him. I'm way better looking than Red Scorpion. The guy can talk. The guy's good. The guy's very good. He ain't me. He ain't got my backing, and he ain't got, So some people try and combat me, and they think they can stand in the way of this ship. Red Scorpion realized he was better to be on the ship. So if you can't beat them, join them. So when it's time to fight, we will fight. And I don't tend to do business with many wrestlers, but he offers opportunity and we offer opportunity. So, and he understands that. He's a politician as well, and clearly a very successful one. He's got you here today. Filming me. So, one hand washes the other and all the rest of it. that is almost an easy question, but a hard question. I think sometimes you can overanalyze these things. You can love pizza, for example. We're here in Italy, let's use pizza. You can know that you love pizza and it's your favorite food. Beyond knowing that, if you try to investigate why, you'll probably just end up being like, I don't know why, I just do. And that's how I feel about wrestling. It's a very difficult thing to explain. People either really get what we do or they absolutely don't. And I'm kind of beyond wondering myself what it is. Some people don't know why they're attracted to who they're attracted to, why they want to go to certain places, what foods they like. And it's the same with wrestling. It just is the thing that drives me. And so I don't ask why anymore. I just let it drive, and I don't push against the grain. I go along with the grain. If I told you guys my goals and these cameras my real goals, people think I'd be out of my mind. But that's the best thing. People thought I was out of my mind when I wasn't in wrestling. I had my daughter, became a dad 8 weeks before I opened PPW, and people begged me not to put my other career on hold and open up a place that I had nothing. I didn't know any wrestlers. I wasn't a wrestler. I couldn't do anything. But man, I knew in here, and that's all that mattered. And so my goals they're not small. It's to collab with people around the world. I want to do business with everyone. We want to run wrestling in England and in Britain and across Europe and continue to do things that have not been done. A lot of people say this can't be done and that can't be done. And I'm in the business of doing whatever I want and whatever I decide is doable. So I'll find a way. And I think a lot of people confuse can't be done with hasn't been done. And that's where I live. I did create PPW. So what does that mean that I also created? Kind of means I created Leon Slayer, right? I know probably, he's a good lad. And he's excellent. He's beyond excellent. He's generational. But he knows that the colours that he flies are black and yellow. And it's great, and I'm very proud. There's a lot of ego between me and Leon because he thinks he's the best, because he's the Wonder Kid. And I know I'm the best. But he's good for business and I'm good for his business. So we play nice. And it's great to have him on side. I feel like we play on opposite teams in the Premier League, but now we're coming together to play in the World Cup. So we forget our problems that we have week to week. And we can come and put the same top on and do battle. And maybe we'll go back to fighting and cursing and bravado when we get to PPW next week. And he wants a free t-shirt. So it's Red Scorpion. By the time you see this, I'll be your Megastars champion. And that'll be real nice for me and for you. Because I'll be able to, float to this high water. And we'll lift all the boats with this high tide that's coming. So to Nico and Max and everybody else, it's a pleasure, but the real pleasure is all you guys. Can I go and get ready for my match now? Yeah. Fantastic.